Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a tutorial on this nice, soft, sultry, all matte look. I use the new Too Faced Born This Way Nudes palette. Looks like this. Oh my gosh, you guys know this has me written all over it. I was in Ulta the other day and I asked them if they had it because I know that this is online right now, but I just kind of wanted to see it in person because a lot of times you can't really tell what the palettes look like, because a lot of companies, they always take pictures and flash and everything looks more vibrant and different, plus the screen resolution. So I asked them if they had it and they said yes, they had it in the back. They weren't ready to yet put it out onto the floor. They asked if I wanted to see it and I was like, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh yes for sure. And she said, do you want to get it? And I'm like, yes. So could not wait to play in this palette. And then I show you guys one of my favorite blush techniques that Ariel, who is Kylie Jenner's makeup artist, does on her. It really gives the cheeks a nice lift. You guys know I just got this new Charlotte Tilbury blush in the shade Ecstasy, so you guys will see that technique and this blush in action. And that's it. I just want to keep this intro short. So if you guys are new, I want to take a second to welcome you to the video and to my channel. I'm Lauren Jade. I'm 57. I have mature, crepey, wrinkly skin with hooded eyes that are slightly downturned. So as you guys can imagine, I'm always looking for ways to rock my hooded eye situation and pass the tips and tricks on to you guys, even though we all have different eye shapes and different levels of hoodedness. Hopefully you guys can pick up a few little tips and tricks so you guys can rock yours as well. So that's it. Gonna keep this short. If you are new, I'd love to have you guys join me. Please hit the subscribe button and the post notification bell right next to it. That way YouTube will let you know each and every time I upload a new video. So that's it. I'm gonna keep this short. If you guys want to see this look and see this palette, then just keep on watching and let's get right into this tutorial. All right, so I want to pop some blush onto the cheeks and then we're going to get onto the eyes. So I want to show you guys a technique that Ariel does a lot on Kylie Jenner. So Ariel, I can't pronounce his last name, but he is Kylie Jenner's makeup artist. And I don't know if this technique was rooted in the Asian culture because they have delicate features, you know, their bone structure is a little bit more delicate. So I'm not sure where it originated, but I love this technique and I don't often do it because usually I'm in kind of a hurry to do my makeup face. So, but when I do play with the technique, I get a lifted effect. You guys know I'm all about that lifted effect of anything, whether it's the eyes. So this is the Cheek to Chic Swish and Pop blusher in the shade Ecstasy. This is the Charlotte Tilbury one. And I talked about this the other day in my video. So it's a warm peachy coral type of a blush. And the way it's situated is that you have this outer rim that has this like peachy to it. And I love this shade. This is like totally me. And then on the inner corner, you have more of a little brighter coral as sort of a pop. So the idea is to swish your brush around on this little larger outside ring and you kind of take that in a little bit of a wider area and then you take this little center part and you just kind of pop that on the apples of the cheek. So that's kind of what we're going to do. Oftentimes I use, just like I use two bronzers, I always kind of sometimes layer blushes as well. I will layer a kind of an illuminating type of a blush over you know, like a matte, just really light. And I often use a stippling brush to do that because when you do that you get a much lighter, more airbrushed finish, and it's also not as heavy as far as, you know, how much product gets on your actual skin as opposed to like when you're using like a dense type of a brush. This one is in the shade Bella Bellini and I just love it. I'll turn it upside down, there we go. And this one is in the shade Luminoso. Absolutely love these blushes. They come with a little brush in here as well as a mirror, so you get all of this in this compact. And I have these blushes in every single shade. They're just all right. So let me show you what I do when I do this technique. So like I said, I like to apply the blush with a stippling brush because I feel like you get more of that lighter airbrushed type of an application. You also don't pick up as much product with a stippling brush. So I'm going to swirl this on the outer part of like where this peachy is. And I'm just going to, now I'm not a real apples of the cheek kind of a person. I do like to feather the blush really lightly kind of outwards towards the temple, but not to the temple, because that's kind of where I have my bronzer, right? So I just kind of like to swish it. It just gives a really light, kind of that airbrushed look. and I go right on the cheekbones. Now I am going to take it a little bit higher on this one. So I'm going to grab this center part, the pop part, and instead of going like, you know, like here, like down there, I'm going to take this higher. So it's almost putting it right on my cheekbone, which is right up here. And I have really high cheekbones because I have that kind of that Indian ancestry thing. So my cheekbones are like way up here anyway. So I'm just going to apply it kind of up in here. And I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but it's just light and fresh and really just lifts the cheek, and everything is kind of lifted upwards. And that is what we want. All right, I just thought I'd share that with you guys because it's a technique that I do when I have the time. But most of the time I'm just in a hurry and out the door, and I'm just... Now when I do layer a blush, I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to take this Luminoso, and I'm going to grab this other stippling brush. This is a MAC one. And I'm just placing it on the top, blushing it up. And then I'm just kind of going like this. So I love this. And I'm taking it higher up, almost like right on my cheekbone, which is up here anyway. And it's so pretty. It just gives such a nice, natural look. And it's lifted. I love it. All right, so I thought I'd show you guys those. If you don't have this blush, it's amazing. I would suggest picking up. They're literally like $6 or $7 on their website, and they have sales all the time, so love it. All right, that's it. Now let's zoom you guys in and start on the eyes. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I've already primed my eyes with MAC's Paint Pot in Soft Ochre, and I'm going to go ahead and set the primer, and I'm going to use this shade right over here, which is Seashell. It's a beautiful, it's a really kind of similar to my Melts Blur that I always use to set my base. As you guys know, I have said bye-bye to that translucent powder YouTube method of setting. I never liked that, so I'm more than happy to say bye-bye to that. So I'm going to just kind of tap this in, kind of like right where I'm planning to place the shadows, kind of in the same shape that I'm going to kind of go for. And I'm going to tap this in so it looks like it's part of the skin. When you use your fingers, you kind of get the warmth of that. So don't be afraid to use your hands. They're great little blending tools. So I'm taking this in this inner corner and taking this basically on the socket bone, on my orbital bone. So I'm going pretty high with this, and I'm just going to tap it in. And I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see that it just looks like it's part of the skin. And I love this technique. It kind of gives that lit from within look. Looks like it's part of the skin tone. I take this up pretty high because usually this kind of peeks over and goes in with my bronzer. And you kind of see this kind of nice and airy out in through here. And that's what I want. Let's give it a nice little blend. It just looks like it's part of the skin. It's so, so pretty. And now I'm just going to grab this lighter shade here. And I'm going to set the bottom part right underneath my orbital bone. And you can see how that just kind of really highlights the shape of the socket now. As per usual, I'm going to bronze my crease, and I'm going to use the Hoola bronzer to do that with, as always. And I'm doing this kind of light today, so most of the time I kind of start like in the bridge of this little nose contour area here, and I'm just going to sweep this on up really light. Just to give me that inner corner shading, gives a nice sultry fade. I'm going to go right underneath this brow. So in the same alignment as the brow, kind of pushing it up. Just kind of giving a nice little shading. I don't like to take eyeshadows into this like inner corner region that much. I like to keep this area nice and light and open and bright. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but this is just an e.l.f. Shader brush. So now you can kind of see, you know, the contour a lot more. When you do highlight, you know, your lid space, and you kind of go in and you map that out for the contour, that's when you really kind of highlight the shape and that's where the contour shows up even more. So they kind of work together. Where there's shade, there's light. So if you're contouring up in here, you have to highlight this part right here, because that will really bring it all out and bring everything together. And then you'll be able to see the contour, because without the highlight, you can't really see like the contour. It's the same thing with the nose. When you contour on the sides of the nose, just kind of give that little slimming effect, you have to make sure that you highlight down the center of the nose. So they kind of work together. All right, moving on now. So I'm gonna grab this shade right here, Petal, and I'm gonna mix it with Warm Rose, just for the first application, because I want this to be up a little bit higher, and I'm gonna blend this kind of up in this region right here. I wanna take this higher up. So rather than going in with the darker shade, I'm gonna mix the lighter one and that middle one, just because that first one is a little kind of light. I'm taking this on a Sigma E38 brush. So yes, there is a little bit of kick up, as you can see. Tapping off that excess, and I'm going to start out here by stamping like I usually do, and I'm going to start right on my outer corner. So my eyes have a slight downturn shift, so right where it kind of starts to kind of go little sloping area there, I'm going to go kind of right there, and I'm going to start right there. And I like to kind of work and back and forth just so I can make sure that they are even. And this is up a little bit higher, so it's almost like this is on my orbital bone right here. So usually a lot of times my shades will go underneath that bone, so right underneath that socket bone, like right in here. But I'm taking this up a little bit higher because, like I said, I'm going to be blending this out and up and around, because this is what I want to kind of peak above the, you know, the darker shades. So I'm taking this first little stamp a little bit higher. Once I kind of get some color in there going, I'm going to kind of blend out the edges a little bit. And I'm kind of going in the direction of towards like the tail of the brow, because everything is going to be in this alignment. So if you were lining this up like this, you see that everything is kind of going up towards like the tail of the brow. And then you want the other part of it, so it's almost like it's a little triangle, right? Because you've got a little line coming this way, got the other one going this way, the other arm going into the crease, this one is kind of coming down in here. So it's almost like a little V. So it's almost like this little dot is like a little triangle. So once I kind of build that color up, I'm going to start to kind of take it into the crease just a little bit. And then I'm going to start to kind of build up down here on this little outer V section here. And just, where is my, I'm going to take the Sigma E38 again. I'm just going to go into Warm Rose by itself. It's a beautiful shade. And now I'm going to kind of build up that shade out here. I'm going to kind of stamp. I like to do one side and then the other, just make sure that they're kind of even. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to lightly buff that in. Take a little bit on this little outer corner here. And just start to kind of build up this color, this shade. And don't be afraid to blow out the shadows and get them up and out, especially if you're like me and you have like a lot of real estate out here. You know, just blow them out, and you know, you don't want to get them obviously right up next to the brow, because you want to have some room there for like a brow bone kind of highlight, because that really adds lift as well. But you know, go ahead and blend and, you know, blow this out. That's why I take that first little stamp up a little bit higher, because it adds depth and dimension to this outer socket bone right here. And it's also kind of like right where I would place my fake crease, which is a few millimeters above my natural crease. And then by having those little guides right out here, you're making sure that you are taking the shadows kind of out here, so you're in the same alignment right here. And then you just want to make sure that you're blending them out. I like to blow them out, up and out. All right, now I'm going to start to build up some colors like right on this little outer portion of the lid. I'm going to take a Sigma E25 and this Warm Rose shade all by itself. Pack a little bit of this on. And I'm just going to go right out here, right underneath that socket bone, and just bring it down on this outer lid. So I'm kind of doing this C shape, this little inverted C shape. And once I have that down in there, I'm going to just lightly kind of bring it inwards into that crease just a little bit. And again, looking down into the mirror, because you want to take this up really, really high. I'm not going to, kind of taking it up at a diagonal too, so it kind of goes up towards like the brow, so it kind of almost meets with this little, this section that I did with the bronzer. I often work in sections because my eyes are slightly downturned, so I will work kind of like this front half right here, front half, and then I will work like the back half. Getting that in there nice and high. Sigma E40 right here, and just kind of blend again. I want to keep everything nice and airy. So if you do take the shadows up really high, you want to make sure it's a nice, soft, airbrushed blend up in here. So now I'm going to go into this Cocoa shade right here. And this one's a little deeper now, so we're going to go ahead and deepen up. I'm going to just use this Wet n Wild brush. It's really similar to the E38 as far as like what it looks like. It's just a little tiny smaller, just not much. I'm going to really work on this little outer corner now, so kind of deep into this outer corner. Put that right into that socket and just start to kind of build that little triangle shape, which is what I do with that little dot. Get that in there. Once I get it kind of placed where I want it, so it's nice and even, I'm going to go in with the E40, and I'm just going to soften that first. I like to add depth to this outer socket area, and that's kind of what that does. Just really softening that up. And you can just keep on building until you get to your desired depth. I'm going to take that E25 now, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of that Cocoa, and I'm going to go right into that socket area. So right like on that little dot there, and I'm going to start to bring this down in that little C shape. I'm not taking it too far in, but I am going to start to kind of build up right on this little outer corner right here. Make sure you're darkening your natural crease as well if you are taking it higher than your natural crease, so you don't have this like gap there. You want it to all kind of connect. Tapping and just kind of pressing that color in. And just kind of take a little bit more of this Warm Rose shade right over here and mix it in with a little bit of this shade, just because they are so pretty together. It's just light, and I'm just going to dust that on the inner part of the socket. So kind of like from right out here, just kind of like right up in through here, taking it high up into the brow and just kind of bringing a little bit of that color in. All right, I'm going to put a tiny bit of this P. Louise base, and this is in the shade Rumor 2, and I'm just going to use a tiny, tiny bit. Normally I use the shade 0 because you guys know how much I love a nice amplifier. Can't live without my whites and my amplifiers, but for this look, I kind of want to do more of that peachy, pinky, kind of a rosy, soft. So I'm not going to do kind of a stark white like I normally do. So I'm using the shade 2. This is in the shade Rumor 2, actually. This is the one I got straight from the UK. All right. And then I'm going to grab my Sigma brush. This is one of my favorite brushes for this step. This is the E37 All Over Blend, and I'm going to take this bone shade here. You can use like a peachy, pinky shade. I'm just going to take this bone shade. I'm just going to swirl this little inner corner here. Just swirl. Get that nice big lid space. Always catfishing. All right, I'm going to pop a little bit of my MAC's Holy Grail shade that I always use for my inner corner highlight, because I really don't want to do a shimmer today. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of that on. It just gives that nice brightening effect. I'm going to grab a tiny bit and put underneath like the brow bone area right here. Just a tiny bit. I'm just kind of stamping and wiggling out here this truffle shade right here, which is this dark brown shade. Just stamping it. Make sure that you wiggle it in to the lashes, because that not only adds depth and dimension to the lashes, but gives you a nice little wing out here. I have this little shadow wing out here, and I'm going to take a really small, I call this a little socket worker brush, and I'm going to mix coca with truffle. So basically this shade over here with this dark one on this little MAC 221 brush, I call it my little socket worker brush, and I'm just going to take that little wing that I did and just kind of drag it in right here into that socket. Like in a little C shape. I'm just deepening it up out here. This brush fits right into that socket, so it's perfect for that. And it also helps to use a little angled liner brush to get this inner corner portion, because a flat definer brush sometimes is kind of too big if you have smaller eyes. So this really works perfect for this inner corner. And then you just want to go back in with your flat definer brush and just kind of connect them. And then what I like to do is take it a little bit higher up on this little outer section. So if your eyes have a slight downturn shift, just make the wing not quite like all the way down here, unless you really want to go for that elongated kind of a cat eye and you want, but if you want more of that lifted eye effect, just follow your lower lash line kind of going up. And don't stamp and take it like right to the very end, like where the lash line ends, just a couple millimeters above. And just stamp in there, color, and just go in that same direction. So we're just going to stamp and then just kind of pull it in and connect. You just get a nice little wing that also connects into that little outer, that little C that we just did with the darker shade. And it just kind of all connects. All right, I'm just giving a nice little once over blend. And then I'm going to grab a little bit more of that warm rose shade and just kind of stamp out here one more time. Just to kind of cover up, like go right on top of the darker shadows. Just kind of one of the little things that you do to kind of tweak and just kind of, again, rounding it out right out here. You can see how that just lifts the eye, because this is where my socket crease out here, like if I were doing a fake crease, it would be like right there. So that's kind of right where I put that little stamp of color, and it just adds depth and lift. And again, you want it pointing in the direction of that brow, so everything is blowing out in that direction. I'm blowing it out like this. All right, that pretty much completes the look. I'm going to spray the face, so hold. All right, I have my fan and my favorite setting spray, my Morphe setting mist. You guys know how much I love this. I've even gotten people in the UK to use this. They see me using it and they're like, oh my God, I gotta get some. I'm like, yeah, this stuff is the bomb and it smells amazing. So I'm gonna turn on my fan. Whew. This smells amazing. Oh, all right, that completes the look. I didn't do any falsies or mascara because I've got to head out the door. But absolutely love how this came out, and we will definitely be doing more looks with this palette because I do want to play with the shimmers in this palette. But I was just jonesing and so super excited to try to do an all matte look because I haven't done that in a hot minute. So, all right, that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new, if you liked what you've seen, if you learned something, picked a few things up, I hope you guys will join me. Please hit the subscribe button on your way out. And that's it. I love you guys, and I will see you all in my next one.